But let's move forward. It's my pleasure to introduce Eero Puurunen from Sitowise. And so Eero, tell us how are you using automated climate and nature impact assessment for urban plans? Very interesting topic. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Sami. Great to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. I am indeed Eero Puurunen. I represent a company called Sitowise. We are a Nordic expert in the built environment and the environment at large. We are around 1,800 experts, primarily in Finland and Sweden. And as said, today my topic is automated climate and nature impact assessment for urban plans. So the previous presentation was already guiding us towards the topic of how cities transform, and this is really at the core of my presentation. I hope I can deliver a message about how we can get from strategic goals to real-world action related to climate and nature impacts. So as we well know, urban development is one of the main drivers of both climate change, biodiversity loss, as well as many other negative impacts. When cities grow, when we build data centers, power lines, etc., there are unavoidable consequences to these land use changes. But I think we can also agree that there are better and worse ways of delivering projects of this nature. So here are two relatively recent news clippings. One of them about a report that talks about how densifying cities is more environmentally friendly than new construction, meaning that taking better advantage of our existing neighborhoods is the way to go. Next to that, we see another article where father feels that it's pitiful that what he can show his child in a new neighborhood is just asphalt instead of trees. And what urban planning is about at its core is really conflict resolution. We always have competing interests and conflicts to resolve. I really believe we need the best tools possible to compare different options and have measurable metrics so that we can have really a informed conversation about these decisions. So this is how things used to be done. Just a couple years ago here in Finland, this is exactly what a planner would do if they want an in-detail climate impact assessment for a plan. They would first hire a consultant. It first of all might take 2 weeks to hire a consultant. Once the work starts, it could easily take 2 weeks, a month to deliver a comprehensive climate impact assessment for an urban plan. Where we are now, where I think we really need to get in many regards, is more or less instantaneous results. So in this example, the urban planner themselves is both preparing a plan and alongside the process doing impact assessment at the same level of accuracy, at the same level of detail. We have produced a product called Planet for this specific purpose. To give you a short overview about how the process goes forward, we first select an area to assess. We input details for this area. A lot of secondary inputs are generated automatically. So the idea is that we want to make the process as quick as possible. There's only a very few primary inputs that the planner needs to put in. Then there are plenty of details that are inserted automatically. And the planner has the assessor has the ability to change those details, but that's not a necessity. This is how we speed up the process. We obviously want to enable the assessment of alternative scenarios, and this is really at the core of our solution. We would like these assessments to start as soon as we have the first idea for a project, because obviously the earlier we start the assessment, the more meaningful changes we can create. And then obviously we get to the part where we review the results, we compare different alternatives. We have created an interface that allows a very in-depth analysis of different aspects of the urban development, different aspects of, for example, climate change. And what powers this system is most importantly GIS. So we have a multitude of data sets that sit in the background of the analysis. All of the assessment is always done based on local information. It is either GIS-based, some examples given here, or it is other type of city-specific data. A good example is, for example, the district heating system, very typical in Finland. What is the current carbon intensity? What is the assumed carbon scenario for the district heating system? So every piece of data that can be local is delivered local. In terms of climate impacts, this is how we kind of group the impacts. We start with site preparation. We are talking about ground improvements. For example, if we have poor soil conditions, we often need to stabilize ground, earth moving, things of this nature. Then we have infrastructure construction of buildings. Then we have changes in soil and vegetation. We talk about carbon stocks there, carbon flows. We have mobility-related impacts and energy-related impacts. And the way we look at it, these are impacts that are directly related to urban planning. So in the morning session, we saw other examples on, for example, food consumption, perhaps not as directly related to urban development, so it's not part of our assessment, but we feel like this is a pretty comprehensive view on what actually happens in urban planning, what kinds of choices can be made in urban planning that, for example, encourage active mobility, help us strengthen the carbon stocks in our soil and vegetation or urban green in general. How do we deliver more energy efficient neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. We offer layered tools for analysis starting at the general planning level. So plans that cover entire cities or municipalities. We have these so-called local master plans. They're in between general plans and detailed plans, where detailed plans are the, as the name would suggest, the most detailed level of planning instrument available here in Finland and in many other countries. And the point is that with this multi-level system, we can create an overall picture on how the city develops. I think what can happen very easily is that we assess urban plans one by one, and when we start to look at them, and we kind of are not able to look at them side by side, because obviously the planning boundary is completely arbitrary from the everyday life point of view. We need to understand what's happening also outside of that planning boundary. To give you just one example of a future scenario, here is an example from tree canopy cover development in a neighborhood. And we could run different scenarios depending on, for example, are we kind of doing more greenfield development in this neighborhood? Are we demolishing buildings and building new buildings in their place, and so on. So really powerful tool for scenario development. And finally, to kind of drive the point about how do we come from the strategic decisions to really everyday decision making in the planning process. The solid lines on the graph on the right-hand side give us history data. So in the example, we are talking about canopy cover, tree canopy cover again, an important metric in the EU Nature Act. And we can see here a trend going down. We can see a dot with a clear target for 2035. And this is, I think, what we really need. Without clear idea about where we are headed, it's very difficult to push for the right decisions at the individual plan, at the level of an individual plan. So what this graph here expresses is a view on the whole city. That's the green line that then turns into several different scenarios that are potential futures for the city. The blue line offers a view on a particular neighborhood to see them side by side. And now we start to talk about are the decisions made in this neighborhood driving us towards the right direction or not. So this is what we are offering. This is how I see we really can drive urban planning processes towards meaningful climate and nature action. Obviously, I would be extremely happy to continue this conversation if any questions arise. Thank you very much.